ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTv News, expanding your view.
We're glad you can join us again on CoreTv News on the hour. I am Frank Omalape, and here are some of the stories filing in at this hour. Reports just reaching us that the former Borno State Governor Ali Modu Sharif has dissociated himself from the dreaded Boko Haram. Following this development, the former APC stalwart says he's ready to submit himself for probe by any panel. We will bring you more on these in our subsequent bulletins. Now, the African Leaders Summit on Terrorism in the Kenyan capital of Nairobi has ended with resolve to work together and create a united front in the fight against this scourge on the continent. The summit, under the aegis of the African Union and hosted by the Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, had in attendance the President of Nigeria and Somalia, Goodluck Jonathan, and Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, both of whom are currently battling Islamist insurgency and Al-Qaeda-linked groups. The one that failure to act will be disastrous for the continent. The one-day summit also aims to review AU's effort at combating terrorism in Africa. Some of the leaders spoke on the need to come together to combat the scourge of terrorism on the continent.
I have no doubts that the Nairobi meeting will mark a new and important step in our collective efforts to prevent and combat terrorism.
You will agree that globally terrorism has also become intrinsically linked with other transnational crimes, including drug trafficking, poaching, money laundering, therefore exasperating the threat to our continent.
The choice of Nairobi as the venue of this meeting is highly symbolic. It is an expression of our union's solidarity with Kenya and its people as they confront the terrorist threat arising from Al-Shabaab activities. We will not forget the shocking acts that engulfed this city just 1 year ago during the Westgate attack.
Foreign ministers from Nigeria and its neighbors met on Wednesday to discuss Boko Haram as the militants' rapid land grab intensified in the far northeast, rising fears for regional security. The one-day meeting of representatives from Benin, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger also includes officials from the United States, Britain, France, and Canada, plus the African Union and United Nations. Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the talks are aimed at reviewing progress of earlier meetings in Paris and London, as well as the Africa Summit held in the United States last month. The ministry added that the meeting will examine the extent of foreign assistance, including efforts by the Nigerian government in the continued fight against the Boko Haram insurgency. And now Nigeria's largest opposition party, the All Progressive Congress, wants President Goodluck Jonathan to hand over former Borno State Governor Modu Sharif and the former Chief of Army Azubike Ihejirika to the International Criminal Court for investigation and prosecution. This, according to the parties, after they have been identified as sponsors of Boko Haram by an Australian negotiator, Stephen Davis. Party chairman John Odigi Oyegun said at a news conference in Abuja that only the ICC can properly try the duel since the president is not willing to act on the Australians' claims.
Now that the cat has been let out of the bag and the real sponsors of Boko Haram have been exposed, we hope President Jonathan will summon the courage today to do what is right. Hand over the identified Boko Haram sponsors to the International Criminal Court for investigation and prosecution. There's no doubt that Boko Haram has committed crimes against humanity in its scorched earth campaign against unarmed citizens. And the most appropriate body to investigate and try the said sponsors is the ICC. In view of the fact that the alleged Boko Haram sponsors are either members of the ruling party or friends of the president, it is clear that the PDP-led federal government is unwilling and unable to try them. Hence, we are making this call. We want to assure our fellow compatriots, all Nigerians, that they can rest assured that the APC will not allow this issue to be swept under the carpet, as seems to have been happening to our 200+ daughters and sisters who have been for months now under captivity.
The president of Women and Rights Initiative, Joke Odomake, has expressed concern over the inability of the federal government to rescue the abducted Chibok schoolgirls. Odomake will describe the development as a shame on the country's often vaunted military capability and assured the mothers of the girls and the entire Chibok community to remain hopeful that she and others in the campaign to bring back the girls will do all that is necessary to ensure that they return safely to their families.
I just want us to realize that the rescue is a collective responsibility of all of us. We must do all we can. No, we can never forget those girls. They are today, they are tomorrow. They are our heroine. We can never, ever forget them. And that is why spending one day with the terrorists is like spending 1,000 years. Governments, people, all of us must do all we can to rescue those girls. The terrorists are mother sleep. I've not slept since the day those girls have been taken. And until they are rescued, I can never sleep. So girls, wherever you are, it's about 135 days now. We are with you in solidarity. No, never. We can never lose you to terrorists. And terrorists, wherever you are, they should realize that women brought them to this world. And with that girls that they have taken, they wouldn't have been brought forth to this world. Please, they must release those girls. And as we all join forces together, that rescue is important, it's paramount. The girls must be rescued.
You're still watching CoreTv News on the hour. After the break, health workers undergo training to find the best way to tackle the dreaded Ebola virus. We'll bring you details after this timeout. Join us again.
You can now watch CoreTv News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTv Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTv, leave a space, then News. CoreTv News, our 24-hour news station.
Glad to have you back. Now that more than 3 medical personnel have died from Ebola virus, health workers have been undergoing training on the best way to tackle the disease. The one-day session, which is facilitated by the Medical and Health Workers Union, is meant to equip those who will eventually pass down the knowledge to other health workers. But the union also wants the authorities to ensure that health workers are well protected to curtail further spread of the disease.
These are health workers. They have come from across the country to be trained on new ways of handling the treatment of the deadly Ebola virus. Some of them are from states yet to be affected by the virus, but they are here to take part in the training to prepare them for the unknown. Some participants say the training on handling the spread of the virus is timely.
Honestly, this workshop couldn't have come at a better time than now, because like you have known, Ebola is not only an international emergency, but also an emergency here in Nigeria. And protective issues have to be put in place so that the spread of the virus can be curtailed. So this workshop is particularly designed to equip health workers on how to prevent the spread of the deadly disease.
Yes, actually, it is a timely one, because even when we are now in the scare of Ebola in my state, all of you are aware that somebody escaped from Lagos and imported the disease into River State, and right now the government is trying to manage it. So this workshop wouldn't have been more timely than this. Now we have come to learn how the disease can be managed, prevented, and even controlled amongst the healthcare delivery professionals, because we are the first contact. And so if we have a first-hand knowledge of how we can protect, I think it will go a long way to prevent the further spread of this deadly virus.
For this health worker, providing health insurance will enhance healthcare service delivery in the country.
There should be sufficient, insurance. Insurance, when you know that if peradventure, in the course of rendering services, and you are affected or something unwholesome happened to you, that your family will be protected. You'll be all out there, to give services without, not minding the interest of the federation. And maybe what I can call the interest of the federation will be at your, you have it at your heart. We think that government should provide, really robust insurance that will give the health workers, what it takes to go out there and render the services for the nation.
As the medical workers chart a course forward to contain the Ebola virus, they want the authorities to employ more health care workers. But they also insist that nothing is too much to be done to win the war against the virus.
Civil rights activists say government's response to the outbreak of Ebola virus has created panic amongst Nigerians. They also want politicians not to politicize the processes involved in dealing with the disease. The activists were gathered under the Say No campaign urge government to be accountable to the people in its quest to mobilize resources against Ebola disease.
Digitization started as far back as 2001. The issues were discussed.
These political leaders are simply just trying to take opportunity with every disaster that confronts us to use it to mop up and siphon money, and money that will not be appropriated for, so that money that cannot be traced. You cannot, because if it's not appropriated for, you cannot trace it, you cannot account for it, and nobody can hold you accountable.
Effective disaster management response, which unfortunately we are not having. And we are worried and concerned that not only Ebola, many of such disasters have come, and that's how it has been, treated in that, haphazard manner. If you have an effective, efficient, disaster framework, management, you'll be able to deal with this manner in a manner that you do not create the kind of panic. Remember the first week when the executive council goes to the executive council meeting, they said that nobody should shake hands. That's in itself, was, apart from it was a contradiction, it was not sustainable. It shows that the Nigerian leaders are not even serious, because few days after, we saw Mr. President shaking hands, we saw governors shaking hands, we saw ministers shaking hands. We were in the national conference, we saw how the president himself was shaking hands of all the other people there. All the ministers there were shaking our hands. We also shake hands. A response to issues, so that it is not just as it comes. Now we begin to think on what to do, and that is why they didn't know what to do, with the various patients that we have in those.
Ahead of the 2015 deadline by the National Broadcasting Commission to implement the new Broadcasting Act that will strictly govern the transmission and reception of television signals in the post-digital era, the Secretary of State Commissioner for Information, Danladi Baku, has encouraged all media owners and content providers to take this as a step in the right direction for the Nigerian media. He explains the visibility of the project.
Digitization started as far back as 2001. The issues were discussed at the ITU conference in Geneva and at so many other ITU conferences. And so many other countries have gotten to that level. We are just catching up now. There are countries that have been digitized since about 2006, 2007. We are just arriving at that point now. But really and truly, we can do it, and I think we're on course to do it. The National Broadcasting Commission has set out the guidelines. The federal government set up a team of technocrats called the Digi team, and I think they have set out the standards. What they've done also is to set up the platforms, the signal distributor. The signal distributor, NTA will carry one platform, and I think another platform has just been approved. I think it's Pinnacle. Then probably there will be a third platform. Now every broadcaster is supposed to piggyback on each one of those platforms for you to get your footprints onto the particular locality where you are. And I think so far so good. I envisage that most of the stations in the state governments and federal government circles will piggyback on the NTA platform, which is Star Times. And I think others that can piggyback on Pinnacle will be most of the private. Although I know that the private and concerns and media are trying to look for another platform apart from Pinnacle. But I think there are two that are registered now, and probably a third one, so that you can have a choice of what to put your... You don't need transmitters, you don't need to bother about transmission, you just go ahead and produce content. And the truth of the matter is that the rest of the world had done that long time ago. The broadcast houses should just concern themselves with content. Transmission is another ball game completely. Another set of bodies will take care of transmission. The way it is with power. Power, you have generation, you have transmission, you have distribution, all of that. So now, broadcast houses will concern themselves with production of content, and the transmission will be left to the signal distributors, where here I think there are 3 platforms: the NTA Star Times platform, Pinnacle platform, and probably one more that will be added.
Now, the Lagos chapter of the All Progressive Congress has given its support to the state government's regulation restricting movement of commercial motorcyclists, popularly called Okada riders, to some parts, particular roads. Anita Fatuji has more in this package.
In line with the 2012 Lagos State Road Traffic Law, which restricted commercial motorcyclists from plying major highways and bridges, the state government says it does not have the intention to reverse the law now or in the near future. State Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Henry Ajomale, says due to the restriction, the rate of accidents caused by motorcycles has reduced immensely.
Life of a single person in Lagos is very, very important to us. You will see the difference before the restriction of Okada in Lagos State and after. We have given statistics here to show clearly that it's almost zero accident by through Okada. And we have quoted some newspapers who have shown that accident has reduced by 80%, 85% on our roads. And as a party, we cannot be indifferent to the life of our people. They are the one voting for us. The life of one single person in Lagos is very critical to us.
He said efforts has been made to ensure the last mile officials comply with road assigned to them.
We too have reported to the governor before arbitrary arrest, unfounded ticket issuing and other things. These are things that we told the governor that we have our people now in all the local government and in all the world that we monitor the last mile officials this time around to ensure that they comply with the role that are assigned to them, not to go beyond that.
Ajomale appealed that the law should be allowed to stay the way it is, as it was made to protect public interests. Anita Fatunji, CoreTv News, Lagos.
And now in sport, as the crisis that has taken over Nigerian football shows no sign of abating, a member of the committee of the Confederation of African Football (CAF) and former board member of the defunct Nigerian Football Association, Paul Bassi, has sounded a note of warning to the warring parties of an impending FIFA ban. Bassi, a veteran sports journalist, says the avoidable crisis, which is based solely on the alleged selfish drive by some individuals to take over the leadership of the nation's football body using the state, which he added is against FIFA's rules.
Nigeria is in the process of changing the leadership of Nigerian Football Federation. After 4 years of the Aminu Megari administration, we're supposed to have an election in August. But suddenly, there were attempts, moves to rush him out of the office before his term expired. And FIFA says, no, you don't do it that way. FIFA says there must be an election. By the 4th of September, elections are not held as stipulated by FIFA. FIFA will have no choice but to ban Nigeria, suspend Nigeria from world football. Those who are trying to hold this country to ransom are selfish. They are thinking more of themselves than of this country, and they should please comply with FIFA directive, because we'll hold them responsible should this country be suspended from world football. The only way out is for the minister to tell those who are now in power, because they have supported them, to tell them to leave. That is the only way. If they don't leave by latest the 4th of September, definitely I can assure you this country will be suspended. Football especially, we're talking about football and not even sports, it's like a religion in Nigeria. You know, everybody, whenever Nigeria is playing, you can imagine the millions of people that forget about religion, forget about ethnic consideration, forget about tribe, and come together. You know, you see people hugging themselves on the streets when Nigeria does well. That is how big football is in this country.
You're still watching CoreTv News on the hour. We'll take another break. We'll return shortly after this time out. Stay with us.
From the capital markets, we bring information on stock market reports, talk about GDP and economic growth, showcase entrepreneurs and startups, bring on financial experts to analyze and share the views on financial issues affecting the economy. On Business Weekly, we bring business to you.
Glad to have you back now. Outside Nigeria, United States President Barack Obama has said the United States will not be intimidated by the Islamic State after the beheading of a second American journalist by the Sunni extremists. Condemning the horrible acts of violence, he says Washington's goal is for the Islamic State to no longer pose a threat to the region. He stressed that it will take time and that it can only succeed its close cooperation with partners in the region.
I want to say that today the prayers of the American people are with the family of a devoted and courageous journalist, Stephen Sotloff. Overnight, our government determined that tragically Stephen was taken from us in a horrific act of violence. Like people around the world, Americans are repulsed by their barbarism. We will not be intimidated. Their horrific acts only unite us as a country and stiffen our resolve to take the fight against these terrorists. Those who make the mistake of harming Americans will learn that we will not forget and that our reach is long and that justice will be served.
Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko has announced that he and Russia's Vladimir Putin had agreed to a permanent ceasefire in the east of former Soviet country. Poroshenko's office said the agreement was reached in telephone exchange that was preceded only a few hours by Barack Obama's arrival in former Soviet Estonia. Leaders from the 28-nation Western military bloc are due to agree on the creation of a 4,000-strong force that could be deployed within 2 days to meet any perceived Russian military movement in Eastern Europe. Poroshenko's stunning announcement came more than 4 months into a war that has claimed more than 2,600 lives and plunged relations between Moscow and Kiev's Western allies to its lowest since the Cold War. The declared end to the hostilities appeared to confirm Western allegations that Putin had a direct hand in conflict, and though he had denied any role and claimed he is in no position to negotiate on the rebels' behalf. And that does it at this time for CoreTv News Hour. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalape. I'll see you soon.